All right, if you're going to get oxygen equipment with us, you're going to have one of these 4 machines, and I'll show you how everything works on these. Power switches are in different spots, but they all do the same thing, obviously. Right here on the blue one, it's called an Everflow. One right here on front, it's for the DeVilbiss. One for the Perfecto, it's in the bottom right corner. And then finally right here, it's on the right side for this Platinum. Now when you turn them on for the first time, it will beep and it will show you the lights. It's kind of like a traffic light if you want to look at it that way. If you're looking at a green light, that's what you want. But if you ever see a yellow light or a red light pop up on one of these machines, that's when you need to give us a call. But if it's blowing correctly and the green light's on it, you have nothing to worry about. Now to make your adjustments on your oxygen, each one of these has a flow meter. That's what this is right here. There's a ball inside of this flow meter right here, and it will change depending on which way that you turn the knob. Now what you want, say for example, if you're on 3 liters a minute, you want the ball in the machine to rest right on top of the line. So right now you're getting 3 liters a minute. They're all in different spots on the concentrator, but they all do the same thing. Now these concentrators also have a filter on the back, or in the Platinum's case on the side. It's for the air intake. Basically it'll just get dusty every once in a while. I would check it maybe once a week to see if it starts to get discolored or collecting hair or whatever. All you got to do is remove it, put it into the sink, and just wash it out real good and just dry it off and put it back inside. You got nothing to worry about after that. That is right there. Now the cannulas where you hook them up, they're all in different spots. This is where your oxygen tubing is going to go on the Everflow right here. This little Christmas tree looking piece on the DeVilbiss, you'll put it right there on the bottom. And then the next 2 machines, the Perfecto, this one's front and center, and this one's over here on the top left. Now we'll show you how to use the tubing and how to connect all that now. With each kit we're going to give you, we call it an adult kit. There are 4 cannulas inside of it, the piece that goes in your nose, and then 2 links of tubing as well. I've already got some of them pulled out to show you how everything goes together. Now this green tube in here is 25 feet long, and there are 2 female ends on it. So basically, you would take one of these ends, you would put it on the machine, then you will reach into your bag and you'll grab one of these. It's just a little white connector swivel piece that you use to connect all the tubing. There's 2 of these in the bag. So you take that out, put it in the other end, and now you're ready to hook up another tube, whether that be the second length of tubing or just the cannula itself. The cannula itself is 7 feet long, so if you were to hook up the supply tubing and the cannula, you'll have 32 feet of tubing to deal with now. So now you're ready to go, and you're not going to feel so tied down to the machine, but if you choose to do that, you will have more tubing on the ground and at your feet to worry about, so that's something always to think about. There's a non-smoking sign in here. Anyone who's going to have this kind of machinery in their house, I advise them to put it on their front window or on their door or wherever is a good spot that's going to be visible from the outside, so they know to keep any sort of flame or cigarette or heat source away from these machines, because it can go up, and it will. Now this is your backup oxygen tank. You won't use this unless you literally cannot use one of the 4 machines that we've shown you, whether it be a power loss or the machine has failed. This little white piece right here is a seal to show that it's never been used and it's a full tank, and it's got perforations on the side. All you have to do is just pull it and remove the seal. Now for this oxygen tank in particular, we're going to use this on here. It's called a regulator. This gives you oxygen continuously the same way that the machine does. Now to install this, you unscrew the screw a little bit so it's got room to fit over the tank. Right above my finger are 2 pilot pins. On the side of the tank right here, there are 2 holes that those pilot pins will slide into. If you don't get those pins to slide into those holes, it's not going to install correctly. It doesn't matter how long or hard you try to do that. So what you want to make sure that those pins slide into the hole, and then you use the screw on the other side to tighten everything down. You don't have to get a secure grip or anything, let's try that again. You don't have to be Superman and over tighten these things. There's a rubber gasket inside of this that keeps the oxygen from leaking out, and if you were to over tighten it, it will flatten and the oxygen can leak out over time. So just so long as it's secure, and it doesn't rattle around when you move it. That's all you're asking for. This is your pressure gauge, and this will tell you how much oxygen is inside of it. It's showing empty right now because the valve on the tank is not open. That's where this is going to come into play. This is called an oxygen key. You can think of it as a wrench if you want. How to open this, you put this key on the top tab here on the tank. And I put it on here, and I will go counterclockwise or to the right 1 full turn. As I start to turn it, you'll see the needle jump on the pressure gauge, and it'll show you how much is inside of it. See, it's over in the green now. These tanks have 2,000 psi in them, and generally speaking, they'll last for a varying amount of time depending on your liter flow. For example, most people are on 2 liters. The adjustment you make right here, and you'll see it, 0, half, 1, 1.5, 2. So if you're on 2 liters on one of these concentrators, you're going to want to match that number on this regulator here. A tank this size at 2 liters a minute will last 5.5 hours, and that will vary depending on if your liter flow goes up or down. Now that takes care of the constant flow. Now these 3 devices right here, these are called conservers. They work a little differently than the regulators do. The conserver does exactly as the name suggests. It doesn't blow continuously, but it will give you oxygen in short bursts every couple of seconds to preserve the oxygen that's inside of the tank. There are 3 different types right here, but they all do the same thing. And this one right here in the middle is probably going to be the one that you see the most because we have more of these. They work differently, but they all install the same, regardless of the size of the tank or the device that goes on them. They all have these pilot pins, and they all have the 2 holes that are side by side, neck and neck. So if you can install one of them on another tank, you can do it on this one as well. Make sure that those pins slide into the hole, and then use the screw to secure it down. The tubing on this goes at the very bottom. This one's kind of in a good hiding space, so that's where you're not going to visibly see it if you don't know to look under the bottom. So that's where your tubing is going to hook up to. Now to change the setting, you see it's got 1 through 7 that designates your liter flow. The arrow right here, right in the middle, if I press and hold it, it will cycle through, and as I hold it for every second or so, it will cycle through to the next one. The higher the number, the longer and the harder the burst of oxygen you're going to get, and it will only do it when you inhale. This device is designed to tell when you're inhaling, and it will give you a short burst of oxygen at the level that you have it set to. Now this one right here is a conserver as well, but it works a little differently. It goes on the knob instead of using it as a button. It says 1 all the way through 6, and then there's a setting right here for CF. That means constant flow. You're not going to use this for this conserver. When I turn it on for the first time, you'll see a green light down here just shine up. Now whenever you set it to the setting that you need, when you inhale, that light will shine up every time, along with the faint clicking sound, and you'll get a very short burst of oxygen depending on what setting that you have it on. This right here is where the cannula would go. And finally, you have this one as well. We don't have too many of these, but you may get one of these. It actually turns right here on the whole knob, and it will show you. It goes all the way from off to 1 and all the way to 7, and it has a constant flow setting as well. These conservers, you don't need to use that because you'll just deplete the tanks at a very fast rate. The tubing will hook up right here, and it's got the pins and the set screw like everything else does. This one right here, you probably won't even get this one. These are for our high liter patients. This is a 10 liter concentrator. It's twice as strong as the 4 machines I showed you earlier. Only 2 things to worry about right here. You got your power switch on and off. What you heard right there, because it's not plugged in, it's a power loss alarm. If the device were turned on and it becomes unplugged, or you suffer a power loss, that beep is going to continue to do that until you either turn it off or plug it back in. So that beeping is what you're hearing. And then on the other side, you have your flow meter right here. Then right here at the bottom, just like that black Bifilbus, is where you're going to put your tubing into. On the side of this one, you've got a filter. It's the same way as that one. It'll get gray with time, and just keep an eye on it. If you do need to take it out, you can just run it through the sink and dry it off. If it's a little damp, it's not going to hurt anything. And there you are. Is there anything else?
Any questions?
If you have any questions on any piece of equipment we're going to give you, our name and number is plastered over it all. So you see right here, the Paris number, don't worry about that. That's an old sticker. The Lexington, Kentucky number, 859-253-5353, is a number you're going to want to call with any questions or issues that you have.